Today on Knife Banter, we're gonna be looking at a whole bunch of fixed blades. Let's talk knives. How's it going, guys? And welcome to our fixed blade buyer's guide. We have 24 knives on the table representing every company in the knife world that you're gonna wanna buy a fixed blade from. We've got them organized, priced low to high. Let's jump into the first one. This is gonna be epic. A lot of knives on the table. You're gonna recognize the first few here, but as we work our way through, I promise there's gonna be some surprises on the table. So first up is the Morakniv 511. So this is Moraknives out of Sweden. We cannot talk fixed blades, we cannot talk a fixed blades buyer guide without talking about the most affordable, most reliable fixed blade on the market. Now, to give you an idea on affordable, we have this one on sale currently for $7.99. Now, if you're new to knives, you may be thinking, what fixed blade knife could possibly be good at $8? Well, the Morakniv has set itself apart as being just a robust Bushcraft hard user. This thing is 8 inches overall. It has a 3.5 inch blade. The blade's made out of a carbon steel that they use there in Sweden. It's got a Scandi grind on it with a polymer handle and a polymer sheath. Now, we're gonna be talking grinds a little bit as we go through these different knives. And with a Scandi grind, what you get is a grind that's really easy to sharpen and is really good at processing wood. So for example, if you want a knife that's really good at feather sticking, you want a knife that's really good at kind of small bushcrafting tasks, and you don't wanna spend a lot of money, the Mora 511 is a great way to go. And it comes with this nice plastic sheath. A lot of guys will make, leather sheaths for them as well, but a serviceable plastic sheath straight from Mora. They're out of Sweden. So great knife from Mora. That's the Mora Basic 511. Now stepping it up a little bit, we're looking at the CRKT. This is the Lucas Burnley Aux, like auxiliary, AUX. This is got a 7.5 inch overall length with a 3.5 inch blade and 8CR 13 MOV steel, and it's hollow ground. Now, with a hollow ground, you get a grind that's nice and thin behind the edge, so you can resharpen the edge and it doesn't grow thicker as you sharpen it. It's good for general slicing and cutting tasks. You're gonna see a lot of the knives on the table are gonna have a hollow grind. Now, when you're considering a fixed blade, grind is a really important function to what are you doing with the fixed blade. So a hollow grind is really good for like EDC uses, basic camp uses, that type of thing. We do have some other knives on the table with grinds that are a little bit better just for kind of like hammering on and beating up, and we'll get to those in just a second. But with the CRKT Aux, this thing goes for $23.99 on the website. Always check the website for current pricing, and is just a great little knife from Lucas Burnley and CRKT. It's got this nice polymer handle. It's got a nice polymer sheath that comes with this kind of clip on it that you can attach it in different ways. And then obviously it's got these different attachment points on the side as well. So great compact knife from CRKT. Now another one from CRKT, and this one is a fan favorite. So when we're talking fixed blades, this is just such a great compact second knife or EDC knife, backup knife. This is the CRKT Minimalist. Now, I chose the cleaver version of this knife. It comes in a handful of different blade versions. I think there might be like a Bowie. I know there's a clip point. It just comes in a bunch of different blade variations that you can get. I like this version of it because this is very much an EDC knife. Kind of just carry it. It's good for cutting tasks, but also it's a little bit of a showpiece because it's a tiny cleaver. But the Minimalist is a great knife from CRKT. This particular one comes in at 5.12 inches overall. It has a 2.12 inch blade. It's a 5CR 15 MOV blade. This one is hollow ground with a micarta handle, and it comes with a nice polymer sheath. So nice polymer sheath with good retention. When you're looking to buy a fixed blade and the knife comes with a sheath, that's a big part of it is you do want really good retention on that. So for example, if you were to buy the Mora 511, that sheath will work just fine right out of the box. And if you want to make a new sheath for it, you can. But with the CRKT Minimalist, it actually comes with a lanyard and it is designed to be carried as a neck knife, if that's something that you want to do, or you can attach a clip to the side of it and you can carry it on your belt, you can put it in your pocket, you can drop it in a bag. The Minimalist is a great compact knife that can just go anywhere with you. And again, whether it's an EDC knife or just a backup blade when you're out in the bush, the Minimalist is a great option. And that particular one goes for $25.95 on the website. All of the Minimalist knives fall kind of in that price range. All right, next up is our first kind of real big knife. This is the Shrade Extreme Survival, and this is a big knife. So 12.25 inches overall. It's got a 7-inch blade in 1095 steel. And 1095 steel, you're gonna see there's a good handful of knives on the table that use 1095, and the reason is because 1095 steel is really easy to sharpen in the field. It doesn't chip, but it has good toughness, and it's just a great steel for bushcrafting in general, for hard use and for just camp tasks. And this knife here, the Shrade Extreme Survival, this thing's good for just about anything you can throw at it. It's got a rubber grip, rubber scales and handle on it, and then it comes with a nylon sheath. Now, this is a flat grind. It's technically a saber flat grind. So with a flat grind, it's one of the most common grinds, similar to a hollow grind in that way. This particular one is a saber grind because the grind goes halfway up the side of the blade. That's why it's a flat saber grind. If it went all the way, it would be full flat, and our next knife actually has a full flat grind. But this is a very utilitarian style of grind. You find it on kitchen knives. That's where you find it a lot. So great for just processing things, great for just getting work done. And this knife is, as you can see, is very, very thick. That's almost a 1/4 inch of steel on the Shrade Extreme Survival. Now the sheath on this one also is worth a little bit of attention. So it's a nylon sheath. It comes with a nice belt loop. You've got the lanyard here. I wouldn't recommend carrying that neck carry. But it also comes with a little pocket on it. And in that pocket, there are some different little survival tools like a ferro rod and some other survival items. So great little sheath to go with this very chunky boy, big knife. Again, over 12 inches big. And this knife goes for $32.95. $32.95, that's a lot of knife for $32.95 from Shrade. Now, as mentioned, the next knife up, this one has a full flat grind. This is the Spyderco Bow River. Now, this knife has been hugely popular this year in 2020. It has an 8.14 inch overall length, a 4.4 inch blade, an 8CR13 MOV. This one does have a full flat grind, so you get that flat grind all the way down to the edge. Again, a really serviceable, just kind of utilitarian grind for a knife to have. Comes with a G10 handle, actually a really nice leather sheath. And you'll see not all sheaths are created the same. All the ones that we've come to this point have been nylon polymer. This knife goes for $37.80 and you're getting a full genuine leather sheath, which is pretty cool. Now, this is a Phil Wilson design. And Phil Wilson's like a proper knife nut. He actually turned down some older designs that he was doing with Spyderco because they didn't turn out quite right. He's a custom knife maker, he's very particular, and he was really happy with how this Bow River turned out. So Phil Wilson design, great size for basically anything you want to do, great grind for basically anything you want to do, and it comes with that really nice leather sheath for, again, $37. It's a steal of a deal for a fixed blade. Really great little fixed blade from Spyderco. Now next up is another kind of big tough user. This is the Cold Steel SRK. And Cold Steel knives, when they come out of the box, as you can see, they come with a lot of oil on the blade. So we're gonna go ahead and wipe that off. And then as soon as I put it back in that sheath, it will also have a little bit of oil on the blade, which is fine because that's what you want when you're with a fixed blade that's more of a high carbon blade like this one is. So with the SRK, you get a 10.75 overall length, you get a 6-inch blade, and this has what's called SK5 steel, and that's why you're getting the oil on there is to prevent any rust while in shipping or while it's sitting on a shelf until you purchase it. SK5 steel is like a mid-range Japanese tool steel. It has great wear resistance, good edge retention, and it's very tough. But it's also like not super stainless, so hence all the oil. But this particular SRK has a 6-inch blade. It's got a flat grind, polymer handle, and a polymer sheath. And SRK stands for Search and Rescue Knife. So another pretty thick knife, as you can see here from the stock. And then this one comes with a really nice polymer sheath with kind of that nylon belt loop to it. Great option from Cold Steel. If you're looking to get some budget fixed blades, Cold Steel has a lot of great entries for not a lot of money. So a lot of knives under $100 from Cold Steel that are fixed blades that are really, really good knives. Now next up is one of my personal favorites. This is a USA made knife. This is the Buck 119 from Buck Knives. So they're made just above us. We're in Utah. These are made just up in Idaho here in the United States. This has got a 10.5 inch overall length. It has a 6-inch blade in 420 steel. This one is hollow ground, has a polymer handle, and a leather sheath. And again, a really nice leather sheath on this one. I've got one that's like 40 years old. It was my dad's that he passed down to me. Still has the same original leather sheath. Buck also has an incredible warranty. So if anything ever happens to your buck knife, they'll cover it, which is really rad. But yeah, just a good utilitarian knife. This is a really common outdoor and hunting knife in the 70s and 80s. A lot of your dads or grandpas probably had these knives, and they're still really serviceable in today's world as well. Now it's a 420 HC steel, but something cool, which is normally not a very high grade steel, but something cool about Buck knives is they really have found ways to just get the most out of that 420 steel. So if you're gonna get something in 420 steel, go with a Buck knife, because their heat treat process, their grind process, everything they do is meant to help that steel just succeed as just an incredible option for your fixed blade. And this particular knife goes for $54.99 on the website. Really good deal for a lot of quality and made in the USA. Next up, we have the Condor Bushlore. This is a really just kind of like beautiful knife, just a really well thought out knife, and a knife that falls in a really nice budget. So at 55 bucks, this thing is 9.25 inches overall. It's got a 4.25 inch blade that's flat ground. It's got a hardwood handle and a leather sheath. So this is a 1075 steel. Again, very similar to what we looked at with the Shrade Extreme Survival with the 1095. 1075 is just a good serviceable steel. It's tough, but it won't chip. Easy to sharpen in the field, and yeah, just a great knife from Condor. This particular one has a nice belly in the handle. It doesn't tell your hand where to go, but it does fit really comfortably. And the hardwood that they've used here, it's not a slick wood. When we look back at the Bow River, it comes with a G10 handle, but that G10 is, as you can see, it's pretty shiny. That G10 is a little slick in hand. But with this Condor Bushlore, the hardwood that they've used and the finish they've put on it, it's got a nice natural feel to it, and it feels really good in hand. Very neutral feeling generally, and doesn't feel like it would create a lot of hot spots. A knife like this is really for processing like a lot of wood. It's meant to be used often. Condor creates knives just to be used. And it comes with a really nice leather sheath on this one as well. And this is made in El Salvador. That's where a lot of Condor's knives and tools are made. Now next up, we have kind of a cool entry from Kershaw. Kershaw's not really known for making a ton of fixed blades, but this particular one is the Kershaw Camp 5. I personally love just the aesthetic of this knife. You shouldn't buy a fixed blade or any knife, I think, just on the aesthetic, but I think that it's a nice advantage when the knife it looks really cool. So this one's got a 9.12 inch overall length. It's got a 4.75 inch blade in D2 steel. It's flat ground. It has, this is like a polymer removable scale handle. You could probably remove these scales and make your own scales if you wanted to. And then it's got a nice nylon sheath, or nylon dangler on the sheath with a polymer sheath. And this is something that's kind of cool that you'll see with a handful of the fixed blades on the table is they come with the ability to have a dangler. And the nice thing about this is if you're moving around a lot, you're crouching a lot, if you need more dynamic movement for the knife on your hip, you want to get a dangler for it because it allows for more dynamic movement of the knife as well. So you can keep it out of the road of your pack easier, doesn't dig into your hip when you're bending down all the time. And it's kind of a neat little addition that Kershaw threw in to the Camp 5. Now the Camp 5 doesn't get a lot of attention, but honestly, it's a cool little knife. I think you can take this out, it'd be comfortable, it'd get the job done. And like I said, it looks cool, which it's just kind of a fun little bonus with that one as well. And that goes for $59.95 on the website. So you get all of that for like 60 bucks, which is pretty stellar. And I'm probably putting the knife in wrong. That's why I won't go. Yep, sure enough. All right, next up is a new entry from RealSteel. So this is the RealSteel Bushcraft 3. This is an interesting knife. So RealSteel is known for making folders mostly. This is a newer entry that I think it's been out for like a month maybe. It's got an overall length of 8.5 inches. It's got a 4-inch blade in D2 steel, has a G10 handle with a Kydex sheath, and this is Scandi ground. So very similar to what we saw on that Mora 511, This has got a proper Scandi grind on it, which again is great for feather sticking. It's great for processing wood for fires and things like that. And it's great for general bushcraft tasks. Now it's called the Bushcraft 3, so it would make sense that it should be good for general bushcraft tasks. It's a nice mid-sized fixed blade. Feels really good in the hand. I have a mid-sized hand and it feels really good. Similar to the Condor, it's got a little bit of shape to it, but it doesn't force your hand in any one position. So it's fairly neutral, which is nice. And it has a nice sharpening choil out front as well. So the Scandi grind is already really easy to sharpen, but RealSteel's put a lot of thought into this, which I think is cool. This is a knife I haven't been able to personally use, but I think this would be a fun one to take out and use and just see how it holds up to more traditional Scandi ground knives that we see more regularly. And the other neat thing about this is this thing goes for $60.50 on the website. Now, you're getting a pretty no frills sheath with this, but it is a sheath that has good retention. So if you were to get this and just use it right out of the box with the sheath that comes with it, no problems at all. Next up, we have what's definitely more of a tactical entry into the fixed blade world. This is the SOG Seal Pup Elite. So this is 9.5 inches overall. It's got a 4.85 inch blade. It's just an Oz 8 blade. So Oz 8 it's a fairly soft steel, so you won't get any chipping, but the blade will dull a little bit faster than some of the other knives that we've looked on the table. But it will also be really easy to sharpen in the field. So you have your trade-offs with the Oz 8. It's got a hollow ground on it, GFN handle, and then a Kydex sheath with the nylon end here. It's not a dangler, but it is flexible, which is really nice. So again, just allowing some more dynamic movement with a fixed blade on your hip. But overall, the Seal Pup Elite, it's a great little knife. This is a tried and true SOG classic. You definitely can't go wrong with getting the Seal Pup. It does have these finger choils along the way. They do guide your fingers on where to go, but with a medium-sized hand, I feel like my hand can still easily has plenty of room to move in and out to stay comfortable if I was working with this knife regularly. Now, the general design and general aesthetic of the knife is obviously very tactical, but it can be just as at home as an EDC knife or as a camp knife, depending on what your needs are. Again, going back to that camp knife from Kershaw, it does look pretty cool, so you really could pick it up for any use. And that goes for $64.95 on the website. Next up is a Gerber knife that we don't talk about often. This is a Gerber knife that's been around for quite a while. This is the LMF II. Now, the LMF II is a very thick, very hard use, leans very tactical. I mean, you can see from the sheath here, this is meant to be attached to, different MOLLE pouches or MOLLE straps, backpacks, your hip, whatever you're looking to do. It's very thick, it's heavy in hand. It's got this very thick, very hardcore striking pommel on the end. And it goes, it's got 10.59 inches overall. It's got a 4.84 inch blade. This is a combo blade. I would assume this is a hollow grind or a flat grind on the front of that with the serrations down below. GFN handle and then a nylon sheath. And this comes in a 420 steel. So again, like we were talking about with the buck knife, if treated correctly, the 420 steel, you can actually get a lot of mileage out of 420. And Gerber does a pretty good job with their 420 steel. This is also made in the USA and it goes for $79.99 on the website. So it goes for 80 bucks and this is a lot of knife. Really comfortable in hand. And you put this thing in hand and it feels heavy. It just feels like trustworthy, right? It's like one of those things you like go to buy something and it just feels really light and you're like, am I gonna break this? Definitely don't feel that way with the LMF II. The other thing that I like about the LMF II, this is just a personal thing, it's got an ambidextrous sheath. I am terrible at putting my fixed blades back in their sheaths correctly. So with this sheath, it doesn't matter which direction you put the knife in or out, it goes right in and is secure. So that's the LMF II from Gerber. Great fixed blade knife that doesn't get a lot of attention. It's kind of drowned out by its big brother, the strong arm. The strong arm is also an incredible knife from Gerber, but that LMF II needed a spotlight because it really is a neat knife that I just don't feel like people see enough. Now next up is another interesting entry. This is a fixed blade from QSP. Comes with a full leather sheath, which is really rad. This is called the Workaholic. It's got an overall length of 7.87 inches. It's got a blade length of 3.5 inches. It's a Bowler N690 for the blade. So Bowler N690, It's kind of like a D2. It's kind of like a working steel, not quite as tough as D2, but it's a knife. It's a steel that can go to work. It can be easily sharpened, and it'll hold its edge pretty well as well. This is a flat grind, and this is a full flat grind all the way down, the same grind. Micarta handle and leather sheath. Now, like I said, this is kind of a neat one because QSP, they're a Chinese brand and they make a lot of folders, but this is a really neat entry for fixed blades for them. So you have this forward finger choil and then a lot of open space on the back end. Again, with a medium-sized hand, it fits in my hand, no problem, all 4 fingers. It's got jimping across the back of the spine. It's not aggressive jimping, so it secures your grip on the knife, but it's not gonna create like troublesome hot spots while you're using the knife. And I could see this knife being great for EDC tasks or for camp tasks. And then, like I said, the thing that's really cool about it is it comes with this really nice leather sheath. Now it's $84 on the website, and yeah, just kind of a neat entry from QSP, something new, something different. The one thing to note about this sheath, and you'll see this on a few of the other more like dyed-in-the-wool bushcrafting knives, is it's a deep carry leather sheath. So getting to the top of the knife, having a lanyard or something like that makes it nice to be able to really get that knife out. I know it doesn't bother some people. Sometimes I don't like to have to go for the reach on this if it doesn't have a lanyard on it. So something to think about if you were to pick up the QSP Workaholic. And again, that goes for like 85 bucks on the website. All right, next up, this knife is awesome. I actually, as we were getting ready for this, all of the knives on the table, I own a good handful of them, but this one I was like, I'm probably gonna buy this one when we're done. So you can't buy this specific one because this is gonna go home with me today. But this is the K-Bar Becker Companion. This knife has got a lot of attention in the past, but I don't feel like it's been seen for a while. And when we were putting together a fixed blade buyer's guide and just looking at some unique knives we could show you guys, looking at some really good knives we could show you guys, this came to the top of the list pretty quickly. So 10.75 inches overall. It's got a 5.25 inch blade in 1095 steel. So again, going back to that Shrade, if 1095 is treated correctly and done right, it can be a really good bushcrafting steel. You'll see some other companies on the table, that's all they use for their fixed blades. This has got a flat ground, and this would be, it's a full flat up to the edge, but then it's beveled here in the middle. And then it comes with just a nice serviceable polymer sheath, good retention. It's a very heavy knife. Nice thumb ramp here because the sheath does have good retention, so you can put your thumb right there on the ramp and then pull the knife right out. Now, I was talking about the LMF II and how heavy it was. This Becker is probably even heavier. Actually, I'll just give you the weight. The weight on this thing is 15.9 ounces. So almost 16 ounces of knife. This is a heavy knife. Big striking pommel on the back end, nice neutral grip in the handle. And man, just look at that thing. It's just a tough knife. Going back to what we were looking at on the Shrade, this has an even thicker blade stock. The blade stock on this thing, let's see if we can, yeah, it's just over 1/4 inch thick on the blade stock for this thing. And you can see all the way down to the tip. So even the tip, you're gonna get a ton of tip strength because of how thick that tip is there on the K-Bar Becker. This knife is made in the United States and it goes for $78 on the website. This is a really, really neat fixed blade. I don't know if I could recommend it for EDC use. It is pretty heavy. I mean, unless your EDC is working out in the bush all day. But if you're looking for just a good survival knife, a good camp knife, just something heavy and burly you don't have to worry about, K-Bar Becker's a good choice. All right, so like a big reach. With 24 fixed blades on the table, guys, we really had to spread these knives out a bit. So next up this is the Fallkniven F1 knife. So this has an overall length of 8.3 inches, blade length of 3.8 inches in VG10 steel. So VG10 steel's another good working tool steel. It has a convex grind, has a Creighton handle with a polymer sheath. So with the Fallkniven, we're gonna get a convex grind on this, and not all convex grinds are created equally. And you'll notice this knife now bumps us over $100 because to get a convex grind and to do it right, you have to do a lot of the process by hand. You can't do convex grind good by machine. And Fallkniven does a great job with their convex grind. So essentially, when it's done correctly, what you get is you're able to resharpen the blade multiple times. It stays thick behind the edge, but it gives you a really good cutting surface on the front end. Personally, I actually prefer a convex grind to a Scandi grind when it comes to feather sticking and processing wood and stuff like that. As soon as you get that convex grind in the right area on the stick when you're going to do a feather stick, the convex grind will just eat wood all day long. And because it's thicker behind the edge, they're really tough grinds that can just take a beating. So the Fallkniven is a great knife. Generally, the F1 is an awesome knife, but it's also really cool because it is the first knife on the table with a convex grind, and the convex grind is just a really tough, really well done grind, or really good grind. But it has to be well done. That's the trick. So all the knives on the table that feature a convex grind, we made sure that they are knives that we've used before, that we can definitely say it's a good convex grind and it's one you're gonna wanna buy. So the Fallkniven F1 falls in that range. Again, because of that, it does usually a knife with a convex grind is at a higher price range. So this knife goes for $124.95 on the website. So 125 bucks, but a really good grind on that. And just a great knife in general. It's a really comfortable knife, good materials, all of that. All right, next up is the SE6. We can't talk about a fixed blade buyer's guide without bringing up SE. SE makes a wide variety of incredible knives. We chose the SE6 because I've currently been in love with the SE6, so this is the one that we're using to represent SE generally. It has an 11.75 inch overall length. It's got a 6.5 inch blade in 1095 steel, and basically everything that SE does, with the exception of one or two knives, is in 1095. Now, SE's an interesting company because they are constantly going out and testing their knives. Just like a couple weeks ago on their Instagram page, they were like, hey, we're gonna be out for a while. There's a lost hiker in our area. We'll be in the bush. We don't know when we'll be back. So these guys are like out, they're testing their stuff constantly. They're constantly doing workshops. SE's incredible, just an incredible company in general, but the SE6 is also a pretty incredible knife. So this has got a full flat grind on it, micarta handle, and then it comes with just a good serviceable polymer sheath that you can throw a clip or whatever on. Because it is a bigger knife on this sheath, similar to what we saw on the Becker, it does have a nice thumb ramp on the sheath as well. So good retention, easy to pull out, no big deal for the SE6. And the other cool thing with SE is they have a no questions asked warranty. So if you took your knife out and it got cut in half by a lightsaber, no problem. They will send them whatever broken part you have left of the knife, and they will send you a brand new SE6. And that knife goes for $140 on the website, made in the USA. That is a lot of knife for 140 bucks. Similar to how that Shrade was a lot of knife for the 40 bucks or whatever it was, that SE6 is a lot of knife for 140. Great, great knife. All right, next up is a knife from Tops. Tops is very similar to SE. Tops makes a lot of incredible fixed blades. So this one here is the Pasayten Lite Traveler. This has got a 10-inch overall length, a 5.25 inch blade in 154 cm steel. And 154 cm steel is, it's between 1095 and 154, there's a lot of similarities, but 154 tends to hold an edge a little bit better, but it can also be a little more brittle. Between 1095 and 154, there's not a huge difference, but is something to consider. You'll get a little bit better edge retention with that 154. Yeah, and this has got a full flat grind micarta handle. Comes with a Kydex sheath. This is standard fare for Tops, this type of sheath with that kind of nice utilitarian clip on there. And this is USA made. This is a Steve Dick design, and Steve Dick was editor at Tactical Knives magazine for like 21 years. He's a huge knife nut, so a really neat design to see from him with Tops knives. And that knife goes for $149.95 on the website, so 150 bucks for that Tops knife. But again, if you're looking just generally for a fixed blade, SE, cold steel as well, but SE and Tops offer some amazing things. Lots of micarta, lots of grid sheaths, lots of specific use designs. Great knife companies. All right, next up is a knife from our Italian friends. This is the LionSteel M4. It's got an overall length of 8 inches. It's got a blade length of 3.75 inches. And this comes in an M390 blade. So out of everything we've seen on the table, this is our first foray into a really premium steel on a fixed blade. So M390 is great because it's really tough. It doesn't chip. But the drawback to M390 is because it's so tough, it's a little bit harder to sharpen in the field. This has got a flat grind, which does make it easier to sharpen in the field, which is really nice. Micarta handle, and then a really beautiful leather sheath. The Italians do a great job on the details, and especially on their leather sheaths. They're just absolutely incredible. These are all handmade in Italy. And yeah, it's LionSteel M4. Now with this knife, you have an interesting feature. The micarta scales don't quite cover the full tang of the knife. So you can see right here, you'll see the micarta comes up, and then the spine of the knife protrudes just a little bit over the micarta. Normally that would be a problem. Normally you wouldn't want that, it'd be irritating, it would give you a hot spot. But the thing that the M4 does correctly is this is a rounded spine. So it's actually really comfortable in hand, even though that spine is, it is present when you hold the knife. You can definitely feel it in your hand. But overall, really cool knife from LionSteel. Beautifully designed. And with the grind on it, the steel on it, the way the sheath is, just kind of the general weight and length and everything, this knife is at home at camp just as much as it is as an EDC knife. And that goes for $156 on the website. All right, next up is a neat knife from Bradford. So this is the Bradford Guardian 3. Really nice, compact little guy. It's got 6.75 inches overall, 3.5 inch blade in Nitro V, and we're gonna talk about Nitro V here in just a second. It's got a flat grind on it, Taro Tough handles. We're gonna talk about Taro Tough handles in just a second. And it comes with a really nice leather sheath. Now Bradford, all of their knives are made here in the United States. Nitro V is interesting. So Nitro V is a new steel. It was introduced in 2017. It's similar to AEB-L, and AEB-L is a really popular steel used by custom knife makers. So this is a very tough steel, and it's slightly more corrosion resistant than AEB-L. So a little more corrosion resistant, really, really tough, great edge retention. So kind of a fun knife to see on a production knife. You don't see a lot of Nitro V on production knives or AEB-L on production knives. And then the Taro Tough handles, these feel very similar to micarta, and they're very similar to micarta in a lot of ways. But the cool thing about Taro Tough is that it's really impact absorbent, so it absorbs a little bit more from the knife. And it's in the machining process and everything, it's actually a lot less toxic than micarta is. So it's cool to see Taro Tough, again, on a production knife. You'll see it on custom knives, but you don't see it on a lot of production stuff. And it's got a lot better grip when your hands are sweaty. Even, some say even more than micarta. So when your hands get sweaty or wet, Taro Tough is really, really grippy and doesn't really get slippery. So the Bradford Guardian 3 is a good series generally, great for EDC, great for light camp chores, but this particular one's kind of neat because you get both the Nitro V and the Taro Tough, features that you see in a lot of custom knives, but not in a lot of production knives. So I really like this knife from Guardian. We actually have a handful of videos on fixed blades on the channel that we've done in the last year, and I carried a Guardian 3 for a while and I really, really enjoyed it. Great knife. And the other cool thing is, I think, yeah, this is the first knife on the table that comes with a scout carry. So that's one thing to consider when you're carrying a fixed blade is how you want to carry it. You can configure some of these knives in scout carry, but this is the first one that we've seen on the table that comes specifically to scout carry. And that goes for $189 on the website. All right, next up is a Spartan Blades knife. Spartan Blades is a really cool company. Smaller production, so these do sell out often because they just don't produce as much because they take a little more time on each one. They keep it in the family, nice small production company. But USA made. So this particular one is the Spartan Blades Damysus. It's got an 11.75 inch overall length, 5.5 inch blade, so a nice big knife. Comes in 1095 steel. Like I said, 1095. That is a preferred steel to use for these thicker, hard-used fixed blades. It's got a flat grind on it. It's a saber flat grind, but full flat at the edge. Micarta handle, and it comes with just a polymer plastic sheath. So nice sheath. Again, with these bigger fixed blades, what you want is you want really good retention for the knife. Nice audible click there. And this particular one actually has a release built into the sheath. So not just a thumb ramp, but an actual release for the knife. And Spartan Blades, they do a lot of stuff with military, they do a lot of stuff with operators, so it's no surprise to see something that's built even a little more secure than maybe some of these other fixed blades are, because it's built to get, go out and really be used and be thrown around a lot and not get lost out of your sheath. USA made, great knife, goes for $195 on the website. All right, next up, now we're breaking into the Bark River stuff. Bark River is very similar to SC in tops. They make a lot of incredible fixed blade knives, and they focus a lot on hunting and bushcrafting. This one is the Gunny Bravo, is the name of this knife. Overall length of 8.4 inches, got a blade length of 3.78 inches. This comes in a 3V steel. Now, when we're talking knife steels, we've touched bases a little bit on some of the benefits and drawbacks of different steels. 3V is probably my favorite bushcrafting steel. It's really, really tough, but it doesn't chip. It definitely can be a bugger to sharpen in the field. That's something you have to consider with it. But it's just so dang tough. I've got a couple 3V bushcrafting knives, and I swear I almost never have to sharpen those things. So I wouldn't be worried about having to sharpen 3V in the field, because I'm never in the field for 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks at a time using my knife that much every single day. I've taken 3V steel knives out for week-long trips and never even thought about having to sharpen the thing. So 3V is an excellent steel when you really step into that premium category of bushcrafting outdoor knives. 3V is awesome. Really tough, holds an edge, all of the great things. I can't say enough good things about it. But anyways, with the Gunny Bravo here, you also get a convex grind. So we're dipping back into the convex grinds. Again, Bark River, they do an incredible job with their convex grind. So you get all the benefits of a good convex grind and none of the drawbacks of a bad convex grind. And it comes with a micarta handle with a nice leather sheath. Now, Bark River is also made in the United States. Their micarta is generally a lot more polished. So if that's something that you're looking for, something that feels a little more like wood, feels a little more like a polished G10, Bark River does a great job with that. When we compare it with the Terro Tough here, and this is kind of more of a traditional micarta, you can see that that Terro Tough or the micarta, traditional micarta, has a lot more texture to it, a lot more of kind of that fabric-y feel that you get with a Terro Tough or micarta. And with the micarta that you see on the Bark River, it's polished, so it's gonna feel, it's gonna feel more like a wood, or more even like the Buck 119 handle, like the polymer handle. It's gonna feel a lot more like that. But really cool knife from Bark River. This one is our first knife to dip over $200. This one goes for $212 on the website. Definitely a very premium knife with that 3V steel, the hand-done convex grind, made in the USA. Just an awesome knife overall. All right, next up we've got a knife from LT Wright. LT Wright's another awesome, small US manufacturing knife company. This particular one is called the Genesis Tactical. This is a really, really cool knife. Nice neutral grip in the handle. The whole handle design is rounded, so it's really hard. It'd be really hard to find a hot spot on this knife, provided that your hand fits in between those 2 points there. And this has got a 9.5 inch overall length, 4.25 inch blade with an 01 blade steel. So 01, I'm gonna be careful how I say this, similar to 3V in that it's just another high level, good bushcrafting steel that you can use for knives. 01 and 3V are obviously different knife steels. This particular one is saber ground, flat grind. So you get a full flat here at the top and then saber grind down the middle, with a micarta handle and a kydex sheath. Now, with the Bark River, we saw the micarta was a little more polished. With the LT Wright, we see that the micarta has a little more of that fabric feel. Feels a little more secure in the hand. If your hand got wet, you'd feel really secure on that as well. And then a really nice leather sheath, place for a ferro striking rod there. And then this one comes with a proper traditional dangler, like I was mentioning earlier on the other sheath. It was the Camp Lore that had the dangler on it. This is a full leather, stainless steel D-ring dangler. Again, very traditional bushcraft. Similar to Bark River, LT Wright makes a lot of traditional hunting knives, a lot of traditional bushcraft knives, but they're using premium steels and they're really thinking about the designs. They're really thinking about how does it fit in hand, how does it get the job done. This particular knife goes for $245 on the website. All right, next up is one of my favorite knives ever that I've used. This is the White River FC5. So this is the Firecraft 5. Got to get that thumb ramp just right. There it is. I love the profile of this knife. I've used it out in the field for a few days. Really enjoyed the way that it worked. It's got an overall length of 9.8 inches. It's got a 5-inch blade. Comes in S35 VN. Now S35 VN, again, the reason that you go with a 3V, an 01, a 1095 is because they're really tough, right? You can baton with them all day. You're not gonna break that. It would be hard to break a chunk of S35 VN. I have seen it done though. So it's something to consider is it's not as bulletproof as 1095. So if you're looking for a knife that you don't have to think about, or you're looking for a knife that you can just, you know, baton through a metal door, get 1095. Probably don't try that literally. But with the S35, you do get a lot of really good edge retention and fairly easy to sharpen. This has got a flat grind on it, micarta handle, and it comes with a Kydex sheath with a nice ferro rod in it with the micarta on the ferro rod, and then again, nice proper dangler there. So like I said, this is one of my favorite knives that I've used on the table. It's just, it fits my hand really well. It does have that forward finger choil. It is a nice big choil, so I imagine it would fit a larger hand well. But again, it feels really, really nice in hand. There's just a ton of little details. You got the notch here, you got the nice sharp spine for striking your ferro rod from White River. And then it also has a bow drill divot here with a stainless steel insert. So sometimes you'll see bow drill divots that are micarta, which is cool, but eventually that's gonna wear down. So I like the stainless steel one because the reality of it is like I don't bow drill to start fires, but I do like to practice the skill. And because I don't do it all the time, when I practice, I'm doing it a lot to try to get a fire going. So I like the stainless steel insert because as a guy who doesn't bow drill all the time, I know I'm not gonna wear down my micarta handle by practicing when I do try to do it. So anyways, this is the Firecraft 5 from White River Knives. Great little knife. And that goes for $279 on the website. So definitely stepping up on price on that, but a lot of really good use as well. All right, this next one is a really cool one. This is basically a custom piece. It goes for $365. I'm just gonna pull that Band-Aid right out the gate. Just pull it off right now. This is Winkler Knives. This is the belt knife. So Winkler Knives is a really neat company. Winkler is a master bladesmith. The first place that he really got noticed was he made a lot of the knives and axes and hatchets and stuff for Last of the Mohicans movie. And then from there, he ended up working with a bunch of operators, a bunch of military, things like that. And they just make really tough, no-nonsense tools. This particular one is 8.75 inches overall. It's got a 4.8 inch blade. It comes in 80 CRV2 steel. Now, 80 CRV2 steel, it's not a new steel. It's been traditionally known as, I think it's like Swedish saw steel, but it is extremely tough and has extremely good edge retention. And you'll see it on a lot of axes, like really hard use. Just like, I mean, Winkler literally is making axes to like pummel through like walls and metal doors and stuff like that. And that's why he uses the 80 CRV2. The other cool thing with 80 CRV2 is that it's fairly serviceable in the field. Unlike your 3Vs, unlike your other like premium steels that are a little bit harder to service in the field, 80 CRV2 gives you all the edge retention, all the toughness, and it's a little bit easier to sharpen than some of these other premium steels. But anyways, the belt knife is a really neat knife from Winkler. It's got Winkler's kind of very iconic design and look to it, very comfortable in hand. This has got a maple handle. The interesting thing with the maple on this is that it doesn't feel like a traditional slick wood. Similar to what I was talking about with the Taro Tough and the micarta, this has got a nice textured feel to it. It feels very grippy in hand, which is nice. And then you get this nice leather sheath, nice big clip. You can clip that to anything. And like I said, it goes for $365. So it's definitely not a cheap knife by any measure, but a lot of attention to detail. You know, again, small production, USA made, made by master bladesmith, and made with that 80 CRV2 steel, which is pretty cool. Yeah, 24 fixed blades on the table. That was a lot of knives, guys. So hopefully you found something on the table that you're interested in. Like I said, I touched bases on a bunch of these companies that are known for making incredible fixed blades. So if you didn't see one that was exactly your jam, but you like the idea of one of these companies, get on the website and check them out. Chances are they make something really great for your specific purpose. I own a good handful of these knives on the table, and I'm gonna be owning that K-Bar Becker at the end of this knife banner, which is pretty cool. So let me know down below, what are some of your favorite fixed blade knives? There are way too many for us to put them all on the table. So that way, if anybody else is looking for suggestions, they can jump down in the comments and get some suggestions from our wonderful community. That's all we got. So we'll catch you on the next one. You made it to the end of the video. That was a doozy, but a lot of good information. So if you were into that, make sure to subscribe to Blade HQ right over here. You can go to the website and buy all of your fixed blade needs, and we've got a sweet playlist down in the corner.